welcome everyone to our April coffee chat. It's great to have so many of you here. I'm Laura Knutson-Murray. I'm the GIS coordinator and community outreach assistant for IrisBG. With us today is Shanna Jones, our social media and community outreach assistant, and also Oyvind Rustin, who's the founder and CEO of IrisBG. The recording will be uploaded to our knowledge library. As with our other previous coffee chats, it will be under the category articles and presentations. You can also follow this topic, and that will let you know when a new recording is published. The idea for these coffee chats is to provide a space for you to connect with your peers and talk about issues that come up with your work. We don't have a fixed format for these, so please get in touch with us if you have a challenge you'd like to present or a topic that you would like to discuss with your colleagues. It can be anything, big or small. Hopefully you will make some new connections today, and together we may become a little bit wiser. I did something different with the map this time because we are offering 2 coffee chats. I just wanted to give you a picture for everyone in the IrisBG community that was interested in this topic. So you can see there's quite a few people across the globe that are working on Iris and that are also interested in Garden Explorer. To learn a little bit more about who is here today, we'll launch a poll just to get an idea of your level of expertise in using IrisBG. Do you feel like you are a novice, intermediate, advanced user, or are you just trying out the trial? So Shanna and I will be presenting today just to talk about the Garden Explorer and how plant records can enhance visitor engagement. And just a preview for our next month coffee chat, we will hear from Laurel Hill from Lewis Ginter Botanical Garden in Virginia. She is going to talk about plant collection policies. So watch for the registration link for that talk. All right, so let's dive into it. How plant records can enhance visitor engagement. We all have limited time, and being smart about how we curate our plant records can accomplish many purposes. We will give some examples of how to multitask with your plant records database. In this presentation, we refer to the Web Explorer as the Garden Explorer, but know that you can also call it an Arboretum Explorer. It just depends on your institution's preference. The IrisBG Garden Explorer is a flexible public-facing website that allows gardens to add value to the records through collaboration to make the most of the content that you've already created. I'll start off with an overview. It's important to know that the Garden Explorer is browser-based and it will scale to fit the device that you're viewing on the web. So you can be at home using a desktop or out in the garden using a mobile device, and it will work there too. The Garden Explorer can be configured for other languages, and we will also show how gardens promote their collections on social media and use that content in the Garden Explorer later. You can also display your collection on a custom web map. Then Shanna will take over the presentation and talk about how one garden used volunteers to make a tour and how another garden uses the Garden Explorer for donor development. And she will also give examples of how features like art can be displayed. It is also possible to add searchable themes and customize the look of the text on screens, and also use HTML to format how it displays in the Garden Explorer. I'll start off showing you how Bonn University uses the Garden Explorer. We are able to customize the look of the Garden Explorer to match the main website for your institution. So this is the background image is of the main website, and then we customize the look of the Garden Explorer to match. Let me switch over to my browser. There we go. So in the Garden Explorer, you have a link at the top that goes back to your main website. Then you have these search categories, which perhaps you've all seen. You can use partial words for the common names or the scientific names or the full name. And then there are drop-down categories for the genus, the family, the location. You're also able to pan around a map to search by location that way. You are also able to search by name, alphabetically, scientific name. You're able to search by feature. So if you have art or landmarks. And then I wanted to pull up just a couple of records to give you a look for what your plant records can look like. This particular entry for asparagus has a botanical rendering, which I love. It also gives you the status in the IUCN Red List, and then gives quite a bit of detail about its uses, and then some comments, and displays the location. This is how this particular record is set up at Bonn University. And then just to show a few more details, the National Botanic Garden of Wales, I know you're on the call, has a fantastic collection of white beans. And I just wanted to show how you can show its distribution, since this one is from Wales specifically, or if you have a national red list, you're also able to add that. So you do a great job. I also love the etymology. It's fun to hear where the names came from and to really dig into that. I love that. You're also able to explore in your own language. I'm sure you noticed on both Bonn University and the Wales example that there's a language button where you can scroll back and forth, but I would like to show you an example of one that we're particularly proud of with Jerusalem. We were able to, the Jerusalem Botanical Gardens, we were able to translate it into Hebrew, but it also then reads from right to left, which is pretty fun. You can switch it back to English. And then just one more example. They have a dark purple iris that is native to the Jerusalem coast, and they're able to state that it is on their national red list because they added that as a attribute that displays within their Garden Explorer. So it's pretty unique. So you can customize those examples for your audience, which is great. So next we'll talk about how to use what you've stored in your plant records for social media. And we have a couple examples from Leiden University. So they had a post that they made on Instagram of a time lapse of an Amazon water lily opening. And they keep that within their plant records database for later, just for reference with that taxa. But then also they have a link to a longer video where they have a horticulturalist talking about in more detail. I think it's a 3-minute video that goes off to YouTube that describes more. So it's just a great way of incorporating social media, but then saving those links and that great work that your team makes, that you just collaborate and you just save it all in your plant records database. It's also good to know that you're able to create a QR code that links to this page. So if you want to have that QR code out in the garden, or if you're doing a public education piece, IrisBG creates QR codes that would then send the public to this page where they could learn more about the Amazon water lily. Did you know that you can also add a custom base map? If you would like to use a high resolution aerial or an illustrative visitor map, or one that delineates hardscape, you're able to add a web map service link into your Garden Explorer. And if you don't have access to a server that does that, we are able to host one for you. So I wanted to show you a couple examples. This one's from the Royal Botanic Garden of Sydney, and it's a lovely example of how to combine outlines over a high resolution aerial. It makes it simple and clean, but shows paths and beds delineated, and I think it works really well. Our next example is an illustrative map from the Land and Garden Preserve in Seal Harbor, Maine, and it distinguishes between garden ecosystems. It also shows paths and water, bridges, buildings, just using color. It's good to know that the base map is just there for reference. It isn't selectable, but you can change the icons that in IrisBG. Just let us know if you would like dots or triangles, or we have a whole list. You're able to select those. I will now give the presentation over to Shanna.
Hi, everybody. So I can't tell you how excited I am to connect with you all. This is really special for us. And I'm also very happy to share Garden Explorer. Many of you are within our examples that we're showing today, so you're already familiar. But yeah, it's just good to to talk about it, and maybe there's some things that you're not aware of yet. But this is truly like the community aspect of IrisBG, activating our plant records to spark interest and educate garden guests, and even fellow staff members like visitor services, I have found really benefits from the information. So this next example is of Santa Fe Botanical Garden in New Mexico. They have a small staff, but a robust volunteer program. And volunteers have created all of these tours, I believe all of these tours that are listed on their Garden Explorer. So in my experience, volunteers often bring very unique perspectives, things that you maybe, in your everyday work life, you don't think about. And so I think a lot can be said about volunteers and their own experiences and, their creation of well-rounded tours. There's a lot that goes into it: mapping, writing the descriptions, as well as actually taking the photos and uploading the images. So for gardens who lack adequate staffing, it's paramount. Volunteer support is so important. So it's great to have, someone, a few volunteers that you trust that can lead to a really good situation. So I also wanted to say that often volunteers also serve as garden docents. So I think it can be really rewarding for someone who has created a tour to actually take a group of people through that tour, actually physically through the garden. So yeah, this is just one of those tours listed on Santa Fe's Garden Explorer. It is a non-plant tour, so it's capturing the lights, glass art inspired by nature. And this is also going to lead into our features that I will be talking about in just a minute. So of course, with volunteers and even with staff members still in training with IrisBG, I think data security is a valid concern. But the good thing to know is that IrisBG allows for very specific authorizations. So a volunteer role can be created with system access level defined for each screen. And that goes with every role, not just volunteers, but any role that you create. So for example, a volunteer can have permissions to update tour items in IrisBG, but be incapable of using the delete function or accessing personnel information. So this provides protection for data, and so a role must have access level that equals update or higher. And we also have very explicit details about how to do this on our online knowledge library. This is a really awesome tour, I thought. It's a way to promote sustainability and also with, non-plant items. So this would be using the features tool within IrisBG to record this data and then bring it into Garden Explorer. Yeah, I just really like this, how the tour highlights the low impact design principles. And also you can see that there's a suggested route connecting all those points on the map. So yes, Garden Explorer features. It's the method in which non-plant items can be added to IrisBG and then the Garden Explorer. So features also provide a great way for visitors to get a lay of the land when planning their day at your garden. So this is an example that I believe Laura maybe showed before. Ballarat has a really amazing array of features that can be found within their property. And I also really like their legends. And like Laura was saying, you can filter. So it's a little less noisy and you see only the things that you're looking for. So maybe you're just looking for the playground, and then it looks like they have quite a few actually. And so then you can just filter that way. No, it's no secret that donor development is very important. Donors often sponsor plant collections and benches and art and even entire garden areas. So Cornell Botanic Gardens in New York actually has a really cool way of keeping track of these things for internal use. So of course, these details they're easily, recorded in IrisBG, and then their staff, their development staff actually uses only Garden Explorer to I guess keep track of where the trees are, and also to engage with the donors, to keep the relationship going, but also to gain new donors. And this is just an example of a bench. So it has an image attached to it. Yeah, and so, and in addition to the staff using this, the garden sponsors can also easily find, their dedicated tree or bench or whatever it may be while they're on site. Sometimes benches get moved around too, so it's good to keep track of them that way. And it may not be in the same place it was last time they visited. Searchable themes. So searchable themes, I really like. I feel like they offer another avenue to enrich your horticultural interpretation through Garden Explorer. Our friends at Melton Botanic Garden, well, I understand that they are entirely ran by volunteer support, and they've done a really wonderful job of adding a variety of searchable plant themes. So they have chosen to display indigenous to Melton, Aboriginal uses, and present in Victorian volcanic plains. I didn't know that was a thing, but now I'm really glad I do. So those of you who are not aware, themes are tied to taxon details in IrisBG. So this is the taxa nomenclature screen, and I have clicked on the details tab, and then down at the bottom, there's a box for themes. And so in order to get these, this drop down to be generated, you must first go to the code list screen. So that is located under definitions in the left navigation panel. So, here you're able to add any sort of miscellaneous, I guess, fact or theme. So it could be edible fruit. Here I've chosen to explore some phenology, so like leaf shape and fruit type. It's really just wide open and up to you, and can be unique to your garden. Yes, simple HTML. It's actually pretty simple. So here is an example of Quercus chamardii description prior to simple HTML being applied. So here on the right, you can see that there's a variety of very simple code that you can add that very much enhances the readability. So, I like that I could italicize the botanical name, I could bold the common name, and also like separate, kind of break it up, the description into paragraphs. So it just looks better, it's easier on the eyes. And here's a little QR code if you would like to scan that to go to our website. And there's our team. And we thank you so much.